to have regulations. You have to have a federal agency monitoring this behavior to make sure we do the right thing. So how does a company develop products and services that add clinical and financial value for patients and shareholders? I work for two masters, the patient and the shareholder. I promise you the patient dominates my thought process. If I do well, the shareholder will benefit, but not at the expense of the patient. And that's the way I do my business, and that's the people I've worked with I've been fortunate to work with people throughout my career who recognize that. But even then, when you're near a deadline, or you have things you need to get done on time, or you've got a clinical trial and you can't amass enough patients to prove the technology, you still have to go back to the regulations. And this is where it gets really important. Because when you're navigating unpredictable waters, you have to have some kind of guidelines. What are the rules of the game? And in this case, we go to the federal, state, international, industry, worker safety, for standards that play a role in delivering safe and effective products. And we count on them to give us the baseline guidance. Not because we don't know. I've been in the business 20 years. I could probably quote you most of the CFR when it comes to medical devices. But sometimes I get in that situation where I'm not sure. And at that point, I need to call my friends in Washington and say, hey, we're thinking about doing it this way. Would that meet the requirements? Is that going to get it done right? Especially when you're defining clinical trials, like the one that Stephanie was part of. Yes, there's risk involved, but how much risk can we absorb? Well, that's why we have informed consent. You can have as much risk as you need to have, but the patient and their family should be informed and understand what that risk is. So these are the guiding principles of what we do in a regulated business, and we answer to the FDA when it comes to the regulations. I promise you the FDA does not care if you're financially successful. They do not care if it's a profitable venture or not. They ask two things. What do you claim it can do? And what objective evidence do you have that it meets those claims? So, when you think about it, and you start talking about innovation and the process of innovation, if every phase of the project you've got to have objective evidence, how many people define innovation today as vision, dream, creativity, what I'll call dynamic process? Anybody talk about objective evidence in that dynamic process of creative solutions? No, that's the dimension that's added in my business or any regulated business. You're going to put a cell phone up to your head, right? Or you're going to use a cell phone next to his pacemaker.